Hello, welcome to the channel Why Stories. Enjoy watching.
Oh, he's just a loader. Where did you find this pauper? He's not even on your level, mocked the socialites at the girl. Over time, they all regretted it bitterly upon learning. Friends. Augustina interrupted cheerfully, scanning the group with her eyes. Do you know what our Antonio does for a living? She paused for effect. The young people around the table exchanged glances. He works as a loader, she said with a smirk, looking pointedly at the young man. Antonio remained silent, gritting his teeth. Beatrice paled, while the others burst into laughter. Oh, Beatrice, you're so lucky. We've never had loaders in our circle before. Where did you meet him? Let me guess. Bruno twirled an expensive gadget in his hands. Perhaps he helped unload new furniture for your apartment or pack bags of clothes into your car from some fancy boutique. By the way, did you check if everything was still there? Watch out, these types don't mind profiting off wealthy, pretty girls like you. You, girlfriend. I've heard loaders smell awful afterwards. You'll need to stock up on deodorant, remarked Augustina. Antonio, she turned to him, I'll make sure to get you the strongest deodorant for the next holiday. It might not be in your budget, but I'll gladly buy it for you to please our dear Beatrice. Beatrice, does he at least have strong hands? Augustina teased, eyeing Antonio. I can just imagine him grabbing you somewhere romantic like his utility room. So charming. Does our loader have a friend? I wouldn't mind a little fun myself. And think of the savings for the family budget. He only needs one nice suit for special occasions. On regular days, a work jumpsuit is sufficient. I adore muscular, bare male arms. Beatrice seems to be getting closer to the people, chuckled Bruno, patting Antonio on the shoulder. Don't get too excited, Antonio. She won't marry you. Beatrice has very high standards. With your salary, I doubt you can satisfy them. But if you want, I can offer you some extra work. My father's shop needs strong guys like you. He owns a car dealership selling expensive imports. I'll talk to him, and they'll definitely take you on. Though I'm afraid your girlfriend won't approve. She won't even look at you anymore. Beatrice, what's wrong with the guys in our circle? Camellia interjected. Why a loader? What makes him worse than a businessman or a banker? Do you expect to be carried around on his shoulders your whole life? Personally, I'd rather have a future husband with money in his wallet, and I'm okay with driving a nice car. Come on, confess. Where did you meet him, Beatrice? And such a handsome guy. You have good taste, added Camellia. Each person in the group felt compelled to speak out. Beatrice felt uncomfortable in front of Antonio and quickly changed the unpleasant topic. Beatrice pulled up to her house, parked her car, and was about to get out when her phone rang. Beatrice, Camellia called, I have a proposal to go somewhere for the New Year holidays. I really don't want to sit at home with my parents, watching TV all day and listening to lectures. What do you say? It'll be a good group. I'm all for it. Where are we going? Listen, I'm at a cafe right now, ordered coffee. Join me. We can discuss our plans. It's hard to talk about everything over the phone. Beatrice went up to her apartment. Beatrice, it's so good you're here, Carla Fernandez greeted her happily. Dad's at work, and I'm so bored. Mom, the girl quickly kissed her mother on the cheek, I won't be long. Camelia's waiting for me. Don't be upset. I promise I'll be back soon. She changed quickly, grabbed her purse, and fluttered out of the house. At the cafe, she immediately ordered coffee and joined her friend. Beatrice, Camellia said, in a cheerful mood, Augustina and I were thinking of going to a ski resort for New Year's. We'll bring our boyfriends. I think it'll be fun. Are you in? A change of scenery would do you good too. We can relax, ski. The weather looks perfect, no snowstorms or severe cold forecasted. If you agree, we should book a hotel now. I'm sure lots of people will want to spend the holidays productively. We wouldn't want lack of rooms to spoil our plans. Yes, Beatrice dreamily replied, the mountains must be wonderful right now. I'm all for it. But I need to talk to Antonio first. What if he has plans? We haven't even discussed this. Wait, I don't understand, Camelia frowned. What does Antonio have to do with this? We invited you, not him. Don't you think he might be a bit out of place? Everyone will be well behaved, and I don't want to offend you, but he's not from our circle. We have to consider our friends' opinions. Camelia, you're making this quite interesting, Beatrice retorted. What do you mean you invited me? And Antonio? You're going with your own friends. Why can't I do the same? What's with this sudden arrogance? How is he any worse than your friends? Beatrice, we've discussed this 1,000 times, sighed her friend, frowning. Please don't start again. I hope he's smart enough to refuse. Can you imagine what it'll be like if he agrees? I'm not going without Antonio, the girl said firmly. In case you've forgotten, let me remind you, I'm dating Antonio. He's my boyfriend, whether you like it or not. If you're going with your boyfriends, then I'm going with him. If you refuse to accept him into the group, then go without me. That's all I have to say. Beatrice, Camelia scoffed. You know Augustina's and my opinion about this Antonio. He's not right for you. Why are you so stuck on him? What's so great about him? Sure, he's good looking, I won't argue that. But that's his only virtue. Drop him before it's too late. Just listen to reason. Camelia, Antonio, and I have been together for almost a year, Beatrice said calmly. And let me decide for myself who's right for me and who isn't. You know what, I suddenly don't feel like having coffee here anymore. I think I'll go. She stood up and headed towards the exit. Beatrice, are you seriously leaving like this? Are you offended or something? Camelia called after her. You're going to quarrel with us over some loader? Notice how I'm not even upset. Beatrice didn't stop or look back. Her heart was pounding. She knew how her friends felt about her boyfriend, but she wasn't about to give him up. She got into her car. She noticed a young man coming out of the flower shop across the street with a bouquet of flowers and remembered how she met Antonio. She entered the shop and hesitated. She was struck by the enormous variety of flowers. She didn't know what to choose. At that moment, the shop door opened, and a tan, muscular young man entered with boxes in his hands. He placed them on the counter. The woman behind the counter began to unpack the boxes. The shop immediately filled with the scent of fresh flowers. You're not sure what to pick, the stranger smiled understandingly, studying the girl with interest. Antonio, is this all the merchandise? The shopkeeper asked in the meantime. Yes. He turned back to the girl. Do you think just because I'm a loader, I can't tell a rose from an orchid? He chuckled. Beatrice blushed. Who are you choosing the bouquet for? My mom. Then I suggest these. He took flowers from the vase and shook them. Does your mom like roses? Beatrice nodded. They're the freshest, perfect for an older woman. Carla, could you please make a bouquet? But don't hide the flowers in wrapping paper. It's better to tie them with a ribbon. I'm sure your mom will love it. 10 minutes later, Beatrice left the flower shop with a bouquet of roses. She had a smile on her face. And 2 weeks later, the girl appeared in the shop again. There were already few visitors. The workday was coming to an end. Hello. The young man smiled, recognizing the recent customer. Do you need another bouquet for someone? No, Beatrice blushed. I came to thank you for the flowers. My mom really loved them. Although, I wouldn't mind buying another bouquet from you. I'm actually going to a theater premiere. You enjoy the theater? I adore it. Especially premieres. And I also enjoy watching old productions. In the theater, you can never perform the same thing twice. It's not like movies. So sometimes you get to see something new in a beloved play. I love theater too. Although I don't get to go often. I work a lot. But I do enjoy going to the movies. Especially comedies. I enjoy comedies too. As they talked, the young people found they had a lot in common. Oh, Beatrice suddenly realized, looking at her watch. The play starts in half an hour. You've been so interesting to talk to that I forgot about everything else. I should go. Thank you. She took the flowers and was about to leave when Antonio stopped her. We still haven't properly introduced ourselves. I'm Antonio. And I'm Beatrice. What a lovely name, the young man smiled. Beatrice, I hope I'm not being too forward, but could I ask for your phone number? Sure. The girl smiled back and wrote her number on a piece of paper that Antonio politely offered. I'll definitely call, promised the young man. Beatrice walked towards her car, a smile lingering on her face. She really hoped Antonio would call, and he didn't keep her waiting. Late in the evening, after returning from the theater, Beatrice heard her phone ring. A message appeared on the screen. Antonio had written, "You've just left, and I'm already dreaming of meeting you. I invite you to the cafe near our flower shop tomorrow after work. I'll be waiting for you there. Hope to see you." The next day, by evening, she headed to the cafe. Beatrice was nervous. She didn't know much about her new acquaintance, but her heart was not indifferent to the charming young man. She remembered his face in detail. His voice echoed in her ears. "Beatrice, you're here." The young man rose to meet her and handed her a miniature bouquet of white chrysanthemums. "This is for you. I'm sorry it's modest, but I believe expressing someone's liking can be done without spending a fortune. What do you think? White chrysanthemum symbolizes tenderness, purity, and I think it suits you perfectly. The bouquet is wonderful." The girl blushed. "I was afraid you wouldn't come. I enjoyed talking to you yesterday. You tell stories so interestingly, and you know so much." The girl sat down on the offered chair. "You probably found it strange. A regular loader from the flower shop can speak well and knows about theater and movie art. What difference does it make what someone's job is if I find them interesting? My parents are well off, but that doesn't mean I'm haughty or snobbish. It doesn't define who I am. You're nothing like that. You're very open and kind. I know flowers well, and people are like flowers. Some have the ability to poison with their venom, and some you can't help but admire. For the first time in my life, I see a man who understands flowers. My acquaintances simply give bouquets without investing anything beyond a usual gesture of attention. Flowers are my weakness, which is why I work in a flower shop. They can tell you more about a person than words can." Antonio paused, staring intently at the girl's face. She sat there, nervously fidgeting with a napkin. "I dreamed of meeting you again. I'm so glad you came back to our shop. I wouldn't have dared to seek you out." From that memorable evening, the young people began dating. Beatrice liked this young man. He courted her beautifully and cared for her in a way none of her previous boyfriends had. In the evening, Beatrice remembered her conversation with her friends and called Antonio. "Antonio, Augustina, and Camelia invited us to go skiing in the mountains for a few days. I really want to go, honestly. It's just when my university break starts. What do you think? Can you come with us?" she asked hopefully. "Mountains? That sounds incredible. I've never been to the mountains. But Beatrice, don't you think we can't afford this right now?" "Why not? It's not that expensive, really. We'll book a hotel room where meals are included. And we'll get so many unforgettable experiences." "Beatrice, what's affordable for me might be different from what's affordable for you," Antonio noted. "I'll cover all the expenses, Antonio," Beatrice patiently said. "Consider this trip my New Year's gift to you. I just need your agreement. Please don't refuse. I dream of introducing you to my friends. We've been together for a year, and I still haven't introduced you to each other. They only know you from my stories. And what will I do there? I'll have to look after all of you. I doubt I'll feel comfortable in your girls' company. The girls are bringing their boyfriends. You won't be alone. Come on, don't you want to spend some time alone with me? Take a break from your work. Please, Antonio, on your budget, this trip won't make a dent. But we'll relax. Just imagine. We'll come back feeling brand new. It's an amazing idea. Please agree. At least for me. All right, surrendered the young man. I'll go, but on one condition: I'll borrow money from you. I'll pay you back as soon as I get paid. I don't want to owe you anything. I'm not used to living off someone else's dime. And the gift is too expensive for me. Okay. I accept your conditions. Although I'd rather you didn't pay me back. I have enough funds. My parents don't control my spending. Well, let's say the money isn't yours, but your parents'. So, I definitely won't accept such help from you. As if I would want to be seen as a gold digger. I'd die of shame after such embarrassment. Beatrice blushed. She was still studying at university and hadn't earned her own money yet. Antonio looked troubled. It was precisely this gold digger status that her friends hinted at each time, trying to reason with her. You've always been used to never denying yourself anything, Camilio would lecture her. Can your Antonio provide you with such a life? Will you be able to buy trendy gadgets or branded clothes on his salary? Augustina would argue. He can barely afford to drive you to the airport where you usually fly for vacations. He's not right for you, understand that already. You need to find a husband who matches your status. But I love him, Beatrice defended herself, and I don't care what he does for a living. As long as he's a good person, we'll earn money together. Besides, my parents will help us at first. Yeah, you're counting on your parents. Do you think they'll be thrilled with this idea? Love alone won't sustain you. And who said you won't find the love of your life among the young people in our circle? Why are you fixated on your mover? Let's go to a club. You haven't been there in almost a year. All you do is think about Antonio. Surely you'll find a man worthy of you there, unlike this mover. What's so good about him? Her friends would press on her. All he has is a cute face and muscles. That's not enough for a happy family life. It's time to clear your head. Think about your parents. What will happen when they find out who their only daughter is marrying? Your father will curse you. And your mother? I can imagine how she'll react to the news that her future son-in-law is a mover. Stop pressuring me. I'll decide for myself who I date. Antonio is the best, kind and gentle. His love is sincere. Money isn't everything to me. Don't make us laugh. He knows your parents are wealthy. That's why he's hanging around you. Take away the feeder, and he'll run away immediately. You're wrong. Antonio is decent. He wants me, not my money. I don't want to hear anything more. And stop talking badly about him, or we'll argue. Usually, that was the end of all discussions about Beatrice and Antonio's relationship. She tried to let her friend's comments slide. Anticipating her mini vacation, Beatrice carefully considered what to take with her. Warm clothes for skiing, she said as she packed, protection for hands and feet. Definitely need to bring a first aid kit. Maybe we won't need it, but it's better to have it. What else did I forget? She paused and smiled. It's hard to believe I'm going on vacation with Antonio. I understand everything perfectly well. He doesn't have money not only for a mountain vacation. Even going out of town into nature is problematic because it costs money, and unexpected expenses would seriously impact his modest budget. And the fact that he agreed to go with me is just a miracle. And letting me cover the expenses for the trip is nonsense. He's never even allowed me to pay for a taxi ride for him, let alone a trip to the mountains. But we'll spend several days together there, openly and without hiding from anyone. How I'm looking forward to that moment. Okay, she said, concerned, sorting through her things. I think I haven't forgotten anything. The young couple met at the airport. Beatrice looked at Antonio with loving eyes. He didn't let go of her hand. Finally, the plane took off. The lovers chatted the whole way, sitting close together. It's hard to believe we're flying off on vacation together. Beatrice couldn't take her eyes off him. Is this your first trip like this? She asked. Antonio nodded uncertainly. I've been to so many ski resorts. My parents dragged me along since I was a child. As far back as I can remember, we went somewhere every year as a family. You must be a great skier, she said. Yes, pretty good. I'll teach you. It's not hard. The main thing to remember when going downhill is to keep your legs slightly bent, one ski slightly forward to slow down, shift your weight to turn. If you need to stop, just make a plow. If you start to fall, please be careful. Don't just fall from your height. Try to squat down and fall gently to the side. I know it's hard to imagine now, but you'll learn quickly in practice. Just listen to me. We'll rent all your gear there. There's a rental place, so don't worry, you won't have to sit on the sidelines watching others. Thank you, darling. Antonio kissed her hand. I'll try to remember everything. Don't worry, I'm quick to learn. I'll show you everything, don't worry. And your friends, will they laugh at me? It must be strange for them to see someone who's never been to a resort. I won't let them. After all, it'll be your first time skiing, and you'll do fine. Don't worry, I'll be there to watch over you. While the girl enthusiastically gave instructions to the young man, the plane landed at the airport. Oh, I didn't even notice how time flew by. Our friends should all be here by now. Let me introduce you to my friends. They're waiting for us. We'll all go to the hotel together. In the waiting area, the girl spotted her friends and waved her hands. Beatrice, we're here, the girls greeted loudly. Hi. The girl hugged her friends. Meet Antonio. Antonio, this is Camelia, Augustina, and this is Bruno, Camelia's friend. Antonio bowed ceremoniously to his new acquaintances. The whole group set off to settle into the hotel. They were met by a small bus that took them to their destination. Later that evening, over dinner, Beatrice asked, Augustina, where's Constantino? Why didn't he come? What happened to him? Weren't you supposed to come together? Oh, Augustina waved her hand dismissively, don't remind me of him. He's already in the past. Well, you were saying everything was great between you. You were even planning to get married. It was like that, until we had a fight. He turned out to be such a jerk. How could I have been in love with him until now? Well, no matter, after a while he'll realize what he's lost, come crawling back on his knees, begging for forgiveness. All men are the same. As long as they need something from us, they're sweet, loving, and kind. But as soon as they don't get their way, they show their true colors. He hadn't even proposed to me yet, and he already started making demands. I won't tolerate such treatment. My parents don't even control me like he did. It's unbelievable that Constantino would behave like a tyrant. Yeah, he's charming in public, but then he starts throwing his weight around. What do I need that for? And how are you now? I feel amazing. It's not good to be alone. I won't be alone. You know me. I'm not worried about that at all. Lost one, find another. As long as I wave my finger, I won't be able to fend off admirers with a broom. My Bruno isn't like that, Camelia interjected. Bruno and Antonio didn't pay attention to the girls' conversation, discussing something quietly between themselves. Don't count on it. I used to think the same. Girls, Bruno suddenly spoke up, isn't it time for us to head to our rooms? I'm feeling tired after the flight. I want to be in good shape tomorrow, and for that, I need a good rest. True, girls, Camelia agreed. I'd love to crash into bed right now too. Let's meet up tomorrow morning, she declared firmly, not expecting any objections. According to the weather forecast, we're in for sunny days. The next day, refreshed and rested, they met again in the hotel lobby. The weather is wonderful, Beatrice rejoiced. She was already dressed in a sports suit that fit her perfectly. Let's go to the slopes, Camellia suggested. There's a track there even for beginners. We need to find out where they have ski rentals. They located the ski rental building. Beatrice picked out all the equipment for Antonio. Remember what I told you, she instructed him. We'll go to the beginner's track together, and the rest can ski wherever they want. Don't worry so much, Antonio laughed. I was pretty good at skiing in school. I think I won't mess up here either. Alpine skiing is completely different, Beatrice worried. I'll be right next to you. I won't forgive myself if something happens to you. They followed the signs to the designated slope. Beatrice stood confidently on her skis. You're a real skier, Antonio smiled, looking at his fiancée. Thanks for bringing me here. They held hands and started down the gentle slope. The air here is amazing. So refreshing. Nothing like the city. It's good we got lucky with the weather, Beatrice remarked. Mountain weather can change suddenly. And you ski well, she observed in surprise. If I didn't know this was your first time in the mountains, I'd think you were a pro. When did you manage to learn? Maybe I have a talent, Antonio smirked cunningly. I did say I was pretty good at skiing in school. There's nothing difficult about it. I wouldn't exaggerate your abilities. Stick close to me. And don't forget about the poles. Hey, how about we race down? Antonio suddenly suggested. Are you out of your mind? Don't you dare take risks. What if you fall? But you did explain how to fall properly, the young man winked playfully at her. Remember, I'm a good student now. I'm not afraid of anything. Did you chicken out? Me? No, of course not. Well, you asked for it yourself. Don't be offended if I beat you down. We'll see about that. Are you ready? Then let's go. Antonio pushed off sharply with his poles and sped downhill, quickly distancing himself from his girlfriend. Antonio, be careful, she shouted after him, keep your distance. The wind whistling in his ears drowned out her voice as he focused on his descent. Beatrice's heart squeezed with fear. She watched him speed down, cutting through the snow with his skis. She braked sharply beside him. The young man stood at the foot of the slope, waiting for her. You're insane, she gasped, breathing heavily. I was so scared for you. Can you really risk like that? Thank goodness nothing happened. Something did happen, Antonio unexpectedly replied, removing his skis. What? The girl asked, alarmed. Where does it hurt? Did you twist your leg? Show me what happened. In my heart, love has settled, the young man simply said, getting down on one knee before her. Antonio, you're truly crazy. Get up immediately. My heart has belonged to you for a long time, and you know it. Today, I'm offering you my hand as well. Beatrice, he solemnly uttered, looking earnestly at her, will you marry me? There's nothing in this world I desire more than to call you my wife. I know you deserve better. I promise, no, I swear, one day I'll give you a golden ring with a diamond. But for now. He extended a modest ring to her. Tears welled up in Beatrice's eyes. Why are you silent? I understand we come from different worlds. I see how disdainfully your friends look at me. I suspect your parents won't approve of your choice either, but I'll do everything to become a worthy husband to you. I don't care what your friends think of you. My parents are good. I'm sure they'll understand and love you like a son they never had. So, do you agree to marry me? Can I hope for that? Don't keep me waiting. Say yes? Yes. Beatrice removed her warm gloves and placed the ring on the ring finger of her right hand. She knelt down and embraced her fiancé. This ring is more precious to me than gold and diamonds because it's given to me from a pure heart. I love you, my dear, Antonio said, kissing her. Thank you. I feel like shouting I love you. He jumped to his feet, pulled Beatrice towards him, embraced her, spun her around, then spread his arms wide and fell back into the snow. Laughing, Beatrice fell beside him. I've never been this happy. Look at how clear the sky is. Just as clear as our love. It's amazing there's not a single cloud in it. Let there be no clouds in our life either. Antonio turned his head to his beloved. I swear, I'll never give you a reason to regret marrying me. Everything I have is yours from now on. And I swear. Suddenly, Beatrice jumped to her knees, leaning over Antonio. And if either of us breaks the vow, we'll come back here and the betrayer will have to eat this snow. You're cruel. The young man grabbed her and pulled her onto him, not forgetting to kiss her. And what if it's the betrayer? Doesn't matter. I hope it never comes to that. It's time for us to go back, Beatrice said regretfully. I'm afraid our friends might start looking for us. They know you're a beginner. Our long absence will worry them. They returned to the hotel. Antonio went up to the room to change, and Beatrice lingered in the lobby. The young man didn't close the door, thinking Beatrice was right behind him. He managed to wash off the sweat and was now standing half-dressed in the middle of the room. Droplets of water glistened on his damp bare chest. Antonio was drying his hair with a towel, facing the window, when the door creaked quietly and he felt hands on his exposed back, swiftly gliding over his body, embracing him. At first, he smiled, but then tensed up, noticing unfamiliar fingernails on his chest and catching a whiff of a different perfume. Antonio broke free from the embrace, stepped back, and turned sharply. Before him stood Augustina, smiling. She wore nothing but a red silk semi-transparent negligee. With a casual movement, she tossed her loose hair back, eagerly scanned him from head to toe, and teasingly, slightly mockingly stretched out her words as she spoke. You're quite a catch. I didn't expect you to be so well-built. She slowly approached Antonio, placing her hands on his bare shoulders, bringing her face close to his, as if about to kiss him. Antonio gently but firmly moved her hands away and stepped back to a safe distance. Augustina's eyes gleamed suspiciously. To Antonio, it even seemed like she was intoxicated. I don't want to be rude, but you should leave, he said. Oh, come on, Augustina purred. What if I liked you? I don't know what you're thinking, but coming to our room with Beatrice was a mistake. Oh, come on, handsome, why do you need Beatrice? You're so cute, and she's just dull. The only thing she has going for her is her parents' money. What's good about her? Can she do in bed what I can? Look at me. I'm much prettier than her. How can you say such things? Antonio protested. Beatrice is your friend. You better leave, Augustina. So what? We're more suited for each other, Augustina persisted, attempting to hang on to him again, leaning in for a kiss. You really do have strong arms, she commented, running her fingers over his muscles. God, you drive me crazy, Porter. Augustina, please leave. You're not yourself, Antonio urged, taking her hand and leading her towards the door of the room. Antonio, Augustina resisted, what does she have that's better than me? Look at my figure. I'm sure I'm better in bed than your Beatrice. None of my men have ever complained. Why do you need her? Beatrice is quiet. She's been buzzing in our ears about how you court her. And besides, you're such a well-off young man. I'm well-off? Antonio laughed. He finally managed to deal with Augustina and escorted her out of the room. You're imagining things. I'm just a simple porter. I don't know what you've come up with. Believe me, I'm not worthy of you. With arms held out, Antonio kept Augustina at bay, not allowing her to squeeze through the door into the room. At that moment, unexpectedly, Beatrice's voice echoed down the corridor. Augustina, Antonio. What's going on here? Beatrice looked bewildered as she shifted her gaze between her fiancé and her friend. Augustina smirked strangely, saying nothing, and quickly darted off to her own room. Antonio cast a grim look at Beatrice. "I won't bother explaining. There was nothing. You saw it all." Antonio turned and went into the room. He managed to put on a t-shirt by the time Beatrice entered as well. The girl remained silent. She was so stunned by the scene in the hallway that she couldn't find any words. "Is she always like that?" the young man asked. Without waiting for an answer, he lay down on the bed. Beatrice went into the bathroom, where she stayed for a long time, locked inside. "Beatrice," someone persistently knocked on the door. "Are you okay?" "Yes," the girl replied, undoing the latch. "Everything's fine." For the rest of the day until dinner, they hardly spoke. They exchanged only meaningless phrases from time to time. The spark of doubt planted in the girl's soul by her friend continued to smolder, stirring up her thoughts. Why did Augustina come? What did she need in our room? Antonio couldn't have deceived me. Did Augustina try to seduce him? But why? She has her own fiancé. Yes, they had a fight, but they'll make up. How could she come to us while I wasn't there? We're supposed to be friends. I don't understand anything. My head is spinning. Why did Antonio get involved with Augustina? And her? Some friend. Coming to us, and in such a state. She has no conscience. Hanging on someone else's man. Maybe she got bored, that's why she came to us while I was away. To stir up trouble between me and Antonio. Of course, Antonio isn't at fault. He wouldn't deceive me. But Augustina, I think she's capable of such things. She's one of those who takes what isn't hers and doesn't care. Antonio, they're waiting for us at the restaurant, Beatrice finally said, glancing at her watch. Let's go. The whole group sat down at one table. They were joined by other acquaintances who were vacationing at the same place and had arrived a little earlier. The table was lively with conversation. Bruno recently bought a new car, Camelia boasted. Such a sleek black import. He's been dreaming about it for ages. Isn't that right, Bruno? The young man nodded in agreement. Wow, that's cool, Augustina perked up. Bruno, will you give us a ride? No problem, the young man replied with a smile. I'm just taking a quick trip with the folks to the sea. When I'm back, I'll definitely take you for a spin. I invite everyone to street racing. Unofficial races, so I'll share the location before the event. I didn't know you were into racing, Camelia exclaimed in surprise. You don't know much about me, Bruno chuckled. Augustina, Camelia asked, didn't your parents promise you an apartment? They did. They've already bought it for me. I can't wait to start decorating it. I've already hired a designer. I want to do it in an Art Deco style. I adore the golden color. I ordered furniture from an online store abroad. Oh, that's awesome, exclaimed Camelia. We're looking forward to your housewarming party. As for me, mine haven't bought me one yet. My dad's having some issues at work. He said to wait a bit. Lies. He's squeezing money for me. They're planning to fly off to some islands on vacation. I'm so eager to move out from them. My mom's driving me crazy. I wish they'd at least buy me a new phone. But I'm going to France for the holidays. Without me? Bruno frowned. Darling, I'm going on business. Camelia kissed him on the lips. And why is our new acquaintance keeping silent? Augustina looked mockingly at Antonio. Listening, maybe he's secretly jealous. Or perhaps he's plotting how to charm our Beatrice. Augustina, stop it, Beatrice reproached her friend. What's gotten into you? And why can't I express my opinion? Augustina retorted. He sits here among us so quietly. Do you guys know what Beatrice's boyfriend does? Brace yourselves, he's a porter. Yes, a modest working profession. Camellia exchanged glances with Bruno, who grimaced with distaste. Yes, yes. He works as a porter, Augustina continued. He's a pauper. Whose expense do you think he's here on, Beatrice? Did you pay for his trip? My goodness, how romantic. A girl supporting a poor porter. Well, it's trendy these days to be a volunteer. Bruno, Camellia smirked. Do you know how much porters earn these days? Is it really enough to go vacationing at a prestigious mountain resort? The whole group burst into laughter. Antonio, Augustina asked in a loud whisper, struggling to contain her laughter, how much do you make? Come on, spill it. I make enough to live, Antonio replied calmly. Enough to live, Bruno chuckled. To keep a girl like Beatrice, you need a lot of money. What can you afford? A movie date? She's used to restaurants, nice clothes, international trips. Guys, Beatrice couldn't hold back anymore. Stop it right now. You're making fun of my future husband. Everyone fell silent, staring at Beatrice in horror. Are you joking right now? Augustina finally broke the silence, or have you lost your mind? Are you seriously going to marry this porter? He's not even close to being your match. Beatrice, look at him. Camellia joined in. Look at where you are and where he is. You'll regret marrying him. What will you talk about with him? How many boxes he moved today? Or what fine he had to pay for damaged goods? You won't be able to fit into any decent society with him. Girls, I appreciate your concern for me, but I'll figure it out myself, Beatrice smiled. Antonio remained tense and silent. It was clear he was struggling to refrain from responding to the rude taunts of Beatrice's acquaintances. When the young people returned to their room, Antonio asked, "Aren't you afraid your friends will turn away from you?" "No, I'm not afraid," the girl embraced him. "I don't care how they feel about you or what they think about our relationship. The most important thing is that we're together, we love each other. For me, there's only you. Whoever and whatever says, I'll only listen to my heart. I love you. And if someone hasn't figured that out yet, well, I sincerely pity them." Already lying in bed, she reasoned, when we get back home, I'll tell my parents about us. It's time I introduced you to them officially. I'll formally ask for your hand from them, Antonio said seriously. I want their blessing, it's important to me. I'm quite old-fashioned, I believe in traditions. Parents won't object, Beatrice settled comfortably in her beloved's embrace. Dad always said they'd do everything for me to be happy. And I can only feel happy with you. The young people returned home after a short vacation. Antonio, one evening Beatrice called her fiancé, "My parents want to meet you. Come over tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Can you make it?" The young man answered in silence. Antonio, why are you quiet? Beatrice, are you sure you want this meeting to happen? Of course, reassured the girl. My parents themselves insisted on this meeting. They want to see the one who stole their daughter's heart. Antonio, don't worry, everything will be fine. Remember, I'm on your side and won't let anyone destroy our happiness. Do you believe me? I believe you. I hope I won't disappoint them. Will you be able to come? Can you get off work? For the sake of meeting your parents, I'll try to convince my boss to let me leave earlier. Then see you tomorrow, my love. See you tomorrow. The next day, Beatrice eagerly awaited Antonio's arrival. She tidied up the room, helped her mom set the table. Time inexorably approached the crucial moment. Carla Fernandez managed to prepare her signature dishes. Beatrice, look at me, for God's sake, said her dad, your mom's busy with everything, and I can't decide which belt to wear with these pants. Your friend will arrive, and here I am, beltless. I don't want to look shabby. Daddy, you're more nervous than I am, Beatrice smiled. Here, this one will do. She handed her father a black leather belt brought from abroad. Finally, the long-awaited doorbell rang. Beatrice rushed to open it. Hello. Standing at the threshold was a smiling Antonio, holding two gorgeous bouquets of flowers. "I'm so glad to see you." Blushing, Beatrice kissed him on the cheek. "These are for you." Antonio handed her the flowers. "Come in," invited Beatrice into the living room. "Mom, Dad, meet Antonio." "Hello. Very nice to meet you." The young man firmly shook the hand extended by Daniel Gomez and kissed Carla Fernandez's hand. He handed the woman the bouquet. The parents exchanged glances. "You have good taste, Antonio," remarked his mother, taking the flowers. "Let's sit at the table." "Why are we keeping our guest at the door?" "Beatrice told us how wonderful your mountain trip was." Daniel Gomez started when his wife served the hot food. "You turned out to be quite a good skier." To be honest, Antonio admitted shyly, "I was really scared going down the slope. But I couldn't let Beatrice think I'm a coward." "I was so worried for him," Beatrice laughed. "I thought he had no idea how to ski, but he just zoomed down. I couldn't catch up." "I'd like to go back there again," the young man confessed. "In our time," reminisced her father, sampling the meat, "there were no fancy ski resorts. We just went skiing on simple wooden skis." "Well, dear," his wife chided him, "you might as well start talking about bonfires, tents, guitars. Don't forget to mention potatoes. All of that's in the past century." "But you know," Daniel Gomez mused, "those were good times. We were young, didn't need much, as long as my beloved was by my side." He jokingly embraced his wife. "When we met, we didn't have much money to travel to resorts," he continued. "But we both were already working. We met and fell in love right away. Yes, Antonio, for your information, it was love at first sight for me and your mom, Beatrice. And we're still together. And look at the wonderful daughter we've raised." "Father," Carla Fernandez scolded him gently, "I doubt our guest is interested in hearing our family stories." "Why not?" Antonio replied cheerfully. "I find everything about Beatrice and her family very interesting. We have a clever daughter," the head of the household continued. "She's doing well at university. She has a bright future ahead. And she's achieving everything on her own. And my wife and I support her in everything." "You know what?" interrupted his wife, "let's have some coffee. Beatrice, help me clear the table." Carla Fernandez took a cake out of the fridge and set it on the table. Beatrice poured coffee into cups. She glanced at Antonio, took his hand under the table, as if calming and encouraging him, and whispered softly, "It's time to tell them about us." "Mom, Dad," the girl smiled, "we have news for you." Carla Fernandez, Daniel Gomez, Antonio spoke up. "I love Beatrice and dream of making her my wife. I ask for your daughter's hand and your parental blessing. Here." Blushing, the girl showed the ring to her parents. "Antonio proposed to me, and I said yes." "Mom, Dad," Beatrice pleaded as she looked at her parents. "We love each other very much. We've been together for almost a year. This wasn't a spontaneous decision. We've thought everything through, checked our feelings. We have a lot in common." The parents silently looked at them. Beatrice scrutinized their faces, trying to understand what they were thinking. But their expressions remained unreadable. "You don't mind?" Antonio couldn't hold back and asked first. "What do you think about my proposal? What will you say?" "I don't even know," Carla Fernandez slowly responded. "You caught us off guard. Such things aren't decided so quickly. We need to think about it, weigh everything." "Well, Mom," Beatrice protested sadly, "what is there to think about? This is our life, and we have the right to decide how to live it." "What, Mom?" She sternly looked at her daughter. "You want to hear our answer, not just be informed of our decision. Did I understand correctly?" The young couple nodded simultaneously. "That's why I'm saying we need time." "It's all right, dear." Antonio squeezed the girl's hand and smiled warmly. "Everything's fine. I understand your parents perfectly. They're worried about their only daughter because they don't know me well enough. We'll wait, all right? I think I'll go, he said, standing up. It's been a tough day. Back to work tomorrow. I'll see you out. Beatrice followed him into the hallway. Antonio, you're not upset with my parents, are you? She asked, looking at him imploringly as they stepped outside. No, of course not, her boyfriend reassured her and kissed her. Until tomorrow, my love. The girl closed the door, stood there, fighting the urge to confront her parents right away, to yell, cry, and demand that they stop scrutinizing their feelings and simply agree to the wedding. But pride and reason prevailed. She returned to the living room. I'll go to my room, Beatrice said abruptly and left, closing the door tightly behind her. She sat there, frowning, nursing her hurt feelings towards her parents. Carla Fernandez clattered dishes in the kitchen. Daniel Gomez secluded himself in the study, attending to work matters. 2 hours passed since Antonio left, and Beatrice finally decided to come out of her room. I need to talk to Mom, she thought. I want to understand why they decided to take time to think about it. With this thought in mind, she went to the kitchen. Mom, what's wrong with you? The girl started immediately. Why did you decide to take a time out? Why did you put me in an awkward position in front of Antonio? What got into you? What's wrong with him? My dear, don't you understand? Her mother replied calmly. Should we just have handed over our only daughter to the first person who came along? You can't imagine how difficult this is for us. Antonio isn't just the first person, Beatrice argued hotly. We've been together for a long time and love each other. Isn't that enough? What game are you playing? Are you hoping I'll give up on getting married? Don't count on it. I've already made up my mind. I don't care about your opinion at all. It's what Antonio wanted. There was no need to listen to him. My dear. Her mother sat her down next to her. Love alone won't get you far. You need something behind it. What does your Antonio have? He's just a warehouse worker. How will you live after the wedding? Will you play the wedding on your father's money? No, my dear, beloved daughter, it won't work out. If you claim to be independent, then you'll have to build your own life. Mom, why are you like this? Beatrice desperately defended her fiancé. Why do you allow yourself to speak so disparagingly about Antonio? Yes, right now he's a warehouse worker, but not forever. Antonio is very smart. He'll go to study and then find a prestigious job. You and Dad also got married when both of you were just starting your careers. And what you have now didn't come immediately. Don't compare us, Carla Fernandez said firmly. We had different life circumstances, and your father and I were in similar positions. But your warehouse worker, he clearly decided to enjoy the fruits of our labor. It's nice to come in when everything's ready. And the bride is a smart beauty, and the parents are well off. You know, we won't let our daughter be left on the street. Before, I didn't say anything to you about him. I thought your relationship was not serious. You'd have fun and then break up. But now I see your relationship has gone too far. And something needs to be done about it. What are you going to do, Mom? Beatrice said, frustrated. You don't even know Antonio. He would never lay claim to your money. He's proud and independent. In one thing only do I agree with you, her mother said calmly. We don't know him. We need to get to know him better and then decide what to do with your love. But until then, don't you dare mention him in front of me. I understand people better than you do and can distinguish real feelings from the desire to seduce and take advantage of the trusting naivety of a young fool. Beatrice stomped her foot in anger at her mother and, in a state of hurt feelings, rushed back to her room. Late into the night, Carla Fernandez discussed her daughter with her husband. It seemed to me, the woman adjusted herself at the vanity in the bedroom, that this day would never end. Beatrice disappointed me today. Choosing a mover as a suitor. How tasteless. Well, I'll set her straight. I won't let her life go off track. She's smart, she'll listen to us. She won't fall for a fleeting infatuation. She'll cry a bit and forget about her Antonio. I liked him, Daniel Gomez responded without looking up from the book he was reading before bed. Seems like a decent guy. Exactly, his wife retorted. Decent. I don't want just anyone for a son-in-law. We need to choose the very best for our daughter. Don't you want happiness for Beatrice? There are plenty of wonderful young men in our circle. Any family would be thrilled to join with us. Clearly, Beatrice adores him, the father continued calmly, ignoring his wife's words. He looks presentable. Neat, not some ragamuffin. Looks can be deceiving. We know that. Of course, he's dressed up to deceive the parents. And there you are, ready to be charmed by him. But I won't let myself be fooled. Not that one. I'll see through him in no time. You can't expect anything good from these laborers. He's not stupid. He's self-sufficient. Works hard instead of living off his parents like those idle sons of your friends. He'll make a great husband. Did you dare compare some mover to the intelligent boys from good families? Carla Fernandez shouted. Daniel, are you out of your mind? How could you even imagine him as our daughter's husband? No, I won't allow him into our family. My dear, perhaps you've forgotten what I did for a living when we met. Daniel Gomez finally tore his eyes from his book. I was a courier and nothing more, yet now we live well, even better than most. It wasn't immediate, but my career took off. We raised our daughter. Have you forgotten all that? And your own parents, they didn't exactly warm up to me right away either. Carla Fernandez fell silent. Her husband, holding his book, watched her attentively over his glasses. Exactly, the woman sighed sadly, lost in memories. But we loved each other, we were young and happy. We didn't need much. Exactly, the father nodded satisfactorily. I'm sure the young man has a bright future ahead. And with a little help, he'll have a great career. Not like those mommy's boys who can't do anything except spend their parents' money. Did you know what I would become when you married a courier? The woman remained silent. There you have it. Oh, defender of our daughter. I dreamed of having a son like him. I'm sure once you get to know him better, you'll see I'm right. Carla Fernandez listened to her husband with half an ear. Her thoughts were elsewhere. More than 20 years had passed, yet it seemed as if she were seeing her first meeting with Daniel all over again. Carla, the director stepped out into the reception area. Has the mail arrived? Not yet. The courier seems to be delayed today. As soon as he shows up, bring the letters to me. I'm expecting important documents. A few minutes later, the reception door swung open, and a young man entered with a shoulder bag. Hello, he said, placing a stack of assorted envelopes on the desk. The young man extended a pen to the secretary for her to sign the acknowledgement. Their hands accidentally touched. Carla felt a jolt as if electricity surged through her. She nervously lifted her gaze to the young man. Their eyes met, and she realized she was captivated. The young man's face lit up with an open smile, revealing a row of white, even teeth and dimples on his cheeks. He said, I'm Daniel. And you? Carla, the girl stammered in reply. He left, leaving Carla unable to collect herself for a long time. Her heart started beating faster whenever she remembered the charming smile of her new acquaintance. That evening, he waited for her outside the office after work, holding a rose. Carla hadn't expected to see him, so she startled when he cheerfully spoke behind her. Hello. And handed her the flower. What are you doing here? The girl asked sternly, but a smile was already on her face. I'm waiting for you, the young man simply replied. I don't want to miss out on my future bride. How do you figure I'm your bride? Well, I wasn't even supposed to come here with the mail today. This isn't my route. A friend got sick and asked me to cover for him. Isn't it fate that brought me to your office? So, you must be my bride. Carla had nothing to say in response to such convincing arguments. Besides, she didn't want to argue. She really liked Daniel. They walked together for a long time that evening, and then they started dating. A chance glance became the beginning of their love story. I don't know about you. Carla Fernandez returned to reality at her husband's voice. But I'm willing to give our only daughter to him. There's something about Antonio. He's good, hardworking, and a career is just a matter of time. He needs education. And then, maybe I'll pass my business to him. We're not getting any younger. I can't stand those kids of our acquaintances. They waste all their money. Can't trust them with anything. In my opinion, let Antonio become our son-in-law, and then you can shape him into whatever you want. Yes, the woman said slowly. You might be right. But let's not rush. Beatrice is still young. She might meet someone else. No, we should give them time to test their feelings. They've been dating for a year already. How much more testing do they need? Remember who she was with before Antonio. Diego, that guy. I'm still mad when I think about him. Beatrice cried all the time because of him. And what was he? Never worked a day in his life, full of himself. Have you forgotten wiping our daughter's tears? How we feared she might do something to herself. And now our daughter has blossomed, always smiling, happy after walks, telling us so many good things about her Antonio. So, you heard me. I won't let our daughter's life be ruined. Got it? I got it. Don't be mad at me. I wanted what's best. I only think about her happiness. Don't interfere. They'll figure it out themselves. I understand, you're a mother, but we have to trust our daughter. She's made a mistake before, now she won't let herself be deceived. Antonio isn't like those spoiled rich kids Beatrice's friends have. We shouldn't worry about her. Protect her, yes, but don't try to control everything for her. And don't lay down straw fearing she might fall. You're so wise. Carla Fernandez kissed her husband and turned off the light in the bedroom. The next morning, she went straight to her daughter's room. Beatrice, let's go have breakfast. We need to talk to you. Reluctantly, the girl shuffled to the kitchen. Remembering yesterday's unpleasant conversation with her mother, she thought she'd have to endure another round of lectures about choosing the wrong life partner. She was already mentally preparing defenses in favor of Antonio. Her surprise was great when her mother suddenly said, Beatrice, your father and I have been thinking that it wouldn't be bad to meet with Antonio again. The girl tensed. We won't oppose your marriage, her father said, smiling. As long as you're happy. Dad, Mom, Beatrice rushed to hug her parents. How grateful I am to you. Thank you, my dears. I knew you'd understand me. I'll definitely pass everything on to Antonio. I'll call him right now and tell him you agree to the wedding. No, Beatrice, her mother exchanged glances with her father. We want to personally tell Antonio that we have no objections and agree to marry you off to him. Promise you won't say anything without us. Since he came to ask for our blessing, we owe him that. So run, daughter, call your fiancé, invite him over. Make sure you don't slip up ahead of time. Okay. Parents, I love you. She kissed one, then the other. Overjoyed, Beatrice immediately got ready after breakfast and went to visit Antonio. Antonio, she threw herself around his neck as soon as he opened the door to his apartment. My parents want to meet you. Can you come tomorrow? They want to tell you something. Antonio placed a kettle on the stove, set a small plate of cookies and candies on the table, and looked at Beatrice questioningly. I can't tell you anything. She covered her mouth with her hands. I promised. I think I can guess what they want to talk about. Is it about our engagement? Yes, Beatrice answered mysteriously. I can't wait for tomorrow. The kettle had already boiled, and Antonio asked his fiancée. So, did you wash your hands when you came in? Oh, I forgot, Beatrice replied, jumping up from the table. She forgot. Go wash your hands quickly. You can't sit at the table with dirty hands, especially now with the virus going around, Antonio joked, teasing her. How will I kiss you if you get sick and I can't afford to be sick? Who will work for me? I'll have to keep you at a distance, and not seeing you for even a day will feel like death to me. Beatrice went to the bathroom. She took her time carefully soaping her hands and examining herself in the mirror. I really want to tell Antonio right away that my parents approve of our wedding, but I have to wait, she smiled at her reflection, adjusting her hair. I gave my word to my parents. All right, calm down, she reassured herself, Antonio will know everything soon. The bathroom door was slightly ajar. Beatrice dried her hands with a towel and was about to go to the kitchen for coffee when the phone rang. The young man answered immediately. Beatrice involuntarily eavesdropped. No, she doesn't know anything. Yes, I haven't told her. Beatrice froze in astonishment. Her temples pulsed with blood. She could clearly hear every word. She was afraid to breathe to avoid being discovered. I know I'm postponing the conversation for no reason. Okay, I promise I'll tell her everything very soon. Yes, I understand. Don't rush me. Well, of course, I have everything under control. And I know what I'm doing. Please don't worry. Okay, bye. I can't talk right now. Yes, she's with me. No, she won't hear anything. Beatrice felt like the ground had slipped from under her feet. She staggered, leaned against the wall, nervously swallowed, and closed her eyes. I can't go to him, she thought. I won't be able to pretend I didn't hear anything. How could he? Doubts tore at her soul. She took a deep breath. Everything was clear to her now. So that's why in the mountains he was hitting on Augustina, not the other way around. Is Antonio cheating on me with her? Is that what he's supposed to tell me? Confess that he's involved with Augustina? Lord, help me. Give me strength to bear this humiliation. Beatrice, Antonio called out, are you stuck in the bathroom? I only asked you to wash your hands. No, I don't mind if you wash yourself all over, the guy joked, but I'm worried. If you don't come out now, I'll break down the door. It's been 10 minutes. The coffee's getting cold. Beatrice walked firmly into the kitchen, stopped in front of him, and asked, looking straight into his eyes. Antonio, do you have someone else besides me? Augustina? Is that what I haven't known yet? Don't lie. I overheard the conversation. You know I always stand by the need to tell the truth, no matter what. If doubts have crept into my soul, I have to find out everything to dispel them. Answer me, are you cheating on me with Augustina? I don't know how long you plan to hide this fact from me, but since I know everything, please tell me straight to my face. Don't avoid the answer. I want to hear this from you, not from Augustina. Antonio was taken aback, not knowing what to say. He looked at Beatrice in bewilderment. Don't pretend like nothing happened, Beatrice snapped. I heard everything clearly. Don't you have the courage to admit your relationship with her? I trusted you, never hid anything. And you? You're seeing my friend behind my back? I'm not deceiving you, Antonio shrugged. No, I don't have anyone else. I love only you. Why would I lie to you? And why would I need Augustina? There's simply nothing between us. What are you? You're mistaken to suspect me of cheating. Really? Then why are you delaying the conversation? And why are you avoiding the answer now? Please, sit down, Antonio insisted, and he sat her down at the table. He himself sat opposite her. Well, I guess it's time to come clean about everything. You caught me off guard, indeed. I was planning to explain things to you later, waiting for a more convenient moment. Unfortunately, that's not an option anymore. He opened the contact list on his phone and showed it to her. This is who I was talking to. Beatrice read Mom. I was talking to my mom, not some other girl. You've really jumped to conclusions. Then what do your words mean? What was your mom so insistent on telling me? Enough of these guesses. I thought we trusted each other. What are you hiding from me? Antonio sighed heavily. I told you I work at a major flower chain. Yes, you did. You said you work as a loader. I don't understand where you're going with this. Actually, that's only partly true. I still don't get it. I'm not a loader, I'm the owner. The owner? Beatrice exclaimed in surprise. Yes, the owner. I grew up in a modest family. After the army, when I moved to this city, I struggled to find work in my field for a long time, but eventually I decided I didn't want to work for anyone else. So, I decided to start my own business. It wasn't easy at first, but gradually it became successful. Now I'm quite well off, and I have a chain of flower shops. Sometimes I have to personally deliver the goods because they're very delicate and fragile, and I can't trust anyone else with them. That's how we met. But why did you lie to me? Why did you pretend to be a loader? It's not about you. I had a bad experience with relationships and women. They were happy to give me their love, but emptied my pockets in return. As soon as I started restricting their access to money, they vanished. Eventually, when I realized they were only interested in me as a wallet, I got fed up. So, I decided not to disclose my financial status to anyone for the time being. That way, I could get rid of all the persistent admirers. I stopped trusting women. Even me? Beatrice naively asked. I'm sorry, you weren't an exception. But over time, I realized you're not like the others I knew. Why didn't you confess earlier who you really are? I'm sorry, my chosen one had to pass a test. I needed to be sure you weren't after my money. And did I pass the test? Beatrice seethed with anger. Don't be upset, Antonio said conciliatorily. I should have confessed to you sooner. I'm sorry you overheard my conversation with my mom, but I'm glad you know everything now and I don't have to hide anymore. Am I just a toy to you? Tears welled up in Beatrice's eyes. How could you test me like that? So while I was pouring my heart out to you, you were scrutinizing me under a microscope? Am I fit to be your wife or not? No, not at all, Antonio exclaimed in desperation. Please understand me correctly. I've been burned so many times. I had to make sure there was real love between us. I never meant to hurt you. Make sure? We've been together for almost a year, and you still didn't trust me, you lied? I didn't expect this from you. You managed to gain the trust of my parents, but it turns out you were testing us. You're not as simple as you seemed at first. And you know, I've been deceived too, but I never stooped to testing people. I really thought you loved me. Love is about trust, honesty between people, open hearts. And you? Can you really look me in the eye and pretend everything's fine between us? Beatrice, you have to understand me. I don't owe you anything. It's you who owes me an explanation of what else you're hiding. What other skeletons will come out of your closet? Well, I rent this apartment, but I have a small 2-bedroom of my own, right in the center. I have a car. I can afford a lot. And most importantly, I can support a family. I love you, and I want to be your husband. That's the truth I've never hidden. At these words, Beatrice stood up from the table. Do you understand that I'm worthy of you? She asked sarcastically. Beatrice, why are you? You know what? I'm going home, she interrupted her fiancé and hurried to the exit. Maybe there's too much deceit here. I'll go where I'm simply loved and not subjected to tests. Antonio fell silent and remained at the table. I won't hold on to her, he decided, let her go. She needs time to think everything through. Tomorrow, I'll go to their house and talk to her parents, explain everything to them. In the meantime, Beatrice will have some space. She has to understand me. Yes, I admit, I went too far. I've been putting off explaining things for too long. It'll all work out. He flinched when the front door slammed loudly. Beatrice had left, leaving a heaviness in his heart. Beatrice returned home in tears. In the hallway, she tried to calm herself a bit and was about to retreat to her room when her father's voice stopped her. "Beatrice, you're finally back," he said, emerging from his study with documents in hand. "Mom left for some errands, and I've been here all alone. What's wrong with you?" He looked at his daughter with concern, noticing her reddened eyes. "Have you been crying? Did someone hurt you?" "No, Dad, I wasn't crying," she turned away from his piercing gaze, quietly replied, trying to hide the tremor in her voice. "You imagined it. Can I go to my room and lie down for a bit? I don't feel well. Did you and Antonio have a fight? Is your fiancé upset with us? Well, call him right now and tell him we agree to the wedding. Your mom came up with some secret games." "No, Dad. It's something else." Her chin quivered. She covered her face with her hands, leaned into her father's chest. "Come on, my dear. Let's sit down." He made her sit on the couch beside him. "Tell me what's bothering you." "Dad," he lied to all of us. She burst into tears. "I couldn't even imagine he was capable of this." "Stop crying. Tell me clearly how Antonio deceived us." "He doesn't seem like a deceiver. On the contrary, he appeared to be a very decent person. He lied about being a loader. It turns out, he is the owner of a chain of flower shops." Daniel Gomez raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Really? Usually, it's the other way around. People try to present themselves better than they are." "Did he explain why he didn't tell the truth?" "You see, he put me to a test. You see, his previous girlfriends dated him for his money, so he was afraid I might be the same. He lied to me for almost a year. I don't understand how he could treat me like this. Dad, I love him. Didn't he see how I feel about him? He insulted me with his distrust. He's a deceiver. I don't want to see him anymore." "Wait, daughter. Don't jump to conclusions too quickly. And don't rush to label him either. Put yourself in his shoes. He didn't behave like this for no reason. Perhaps the fear of being betrayed again outweighed all other feelings. You know, I understand him." "What?" Beatrice snapped at him. "You're defending him? He hurt your daughter, and you're siding with him? Is this your celebrated male solidarity? Well, Dad, I never expected this from you. Come on, calm down, daughter. Of course, you're much closer and more important to me than this guy. But think about it from Antonio's perspective. He didn't just randomly behave like that. Probably, the fear of being used again was stronger than anything else. Haven't you ever wanted to find out if someone needed you or your money? Admit it, you would have. And how else could he check it? Only by hiding the true situation. At least now he has no doubts about you." Beatrice pondered this and fell silent for a long time. "Do you really love Antonio?" her father asked seriously. "Is it not just a fleeting feeling?" "I do love him. But I would have loved him anyway," the girl was heated. "Even if I had known everything from the beginning. And not because of money. Do you believe me, Dad?" "I do." Daniel Gomez hugged his daughter and held her close. "And where could he know that you are not like everyone else? After all, he had sworn to love you before, uttering this word every time with ease. And with the same ease abandoned him. Is it pleasant to be deceived? Remember yourself when you were abandoned by that scoundrel Diego. What did you feel? Antonio didn't want to hurt you. He just wanted to be sure who or what you loved, him or money. Can you blame a person for that? I'm sure if you hadn't overheard their conversation with his mother, he could have explained everything delicately. Understand, Antonio had no ill intentions. I understand people well. Antonio is a good person. And if you truly love him, set aside your hurt and try to understand him thoroughly. Put yourself in his shoes and think about what you would have done. Thank you, Dad." Beatrice loved her father very much. She especially cherished their honest conversations like this. They had warm relations. Even with her mother, the girl wasn't as open as with her father. "You're the wisest person I know. I trust only you. Your word means a lot to me. You always manage to calm me down. Bring up such weighty arguments that I stop doubting." "Oh, you fox." Father smiled and gently stroked her head. A father should be an authority figure for his children. Never rush. Get used to weighing every word. You're too young to see many things clearly. That's where we, your parents, come in to help. Thank you. Beatrice kissed her father on the cheek. "I'll go now. I need to sort everything out. So much has happened in the past few hours." "And that's right. Tomorrow morning you'll wake up and laugh at your grievances." Beatrice went to her room. She immediately lay down in bed, wrapped herself in a blanket, and closed her eyes. Antonio's smiling face appeared in her mind immediately. The first thing that came to her mind was their vacation at the ski resort. "I hate remembering," she thought, "how my friends laughed at Antonio when they found out he was a loader. They behaved disgustingly. Like true snobs. That's why he tested me. Can I really be angry at him?" She stubbornly pursed her lips. "Didn't you see that I'm not like my friends? You can get to know a person very well in a year." And he kept delaying the explanation. "No, I'm not ready to forgive him. At least not now. Let him suffer," she thought vindicatively, smiling. She fell asleep with Antonio's name on her lips. The long-awaited warm summer came. Beatrice overcame her resentment and forgave Antonio. "Just please," she demanded of her fiancé, "no more secrets or half-truths. It's better to say everything up front, so I know what to expect from you." "I promise, my love," Antonio vowed, kissing her. "I have no more secrets. We still have 6 months until the wedding, and you still don't have a wedding dress. I know an excellent bridal salon where we can order everything at once. If you think I'm going to go right now and pick a dress, you're mistaken. I don't want to rush. But I'll take a look." Beatrice enjoyed choosing her wedding dress. "Any dress will look amazing on you," the saleswoman said, admiring Beatrice's graceful figure. "We need the most beautiful dress," Antonio warned, critically examining the models the manager brought for fitting. He patiently waited for Beatrice to make her choice. Finally, satisfied, she emerged from the fitting room and announced, "We're taking this one." The modest white floor-length dress, with intricate patterns embroidered with silk threads along the train, looked simply stunning on the bride. "It's a pity our wedding is still far away," Antonio said sadly. "You look so beautiful in this dress. I can't wait to see you in it. Everything has its time. And now let's go to your flower shop and choose the bridal bouquet." "Oh, I'd love to." Antonio immediately perked up. "I'll pick the most beautiful flowers. We'll order them from abroad, and they'll be delivered right to our celebration." Beatrice carefully chose the bouquet from the catalog. She wanted it to be unique and memorable. Later that evening, lying in bed, the young couple continued discussing their upcoming celebration. "We need to think about how to decorate the hall," Beatrice said. "And how to seat the guests. By the way, I've designed the wedding invitations. I think you'll like them. I trust your taste. Tomorrow I'll show them to you and send them for printing. We need to send them to the guests in time." "You're so smart," Antonio said, kissing his bride tenderly. "Taking care of everything. A real homemaker. Well, there's still a lot to do. It's important to think through every detail. Our celebration must go flawlessly. My dear, do as you see fit. I trust you completely and won't limit you in anything. If you just point your finger, anything you want will be yours." "Really?" Beatrice rolled over onto her stomach and looked mischievously at her fiancé. "Then you'll have to learn the bride and groom dance." "Oh, no. Anything but dancing," the young man groaned. "I'm a terrible dancer." Antonio, how shameful, his bride chided him. You just promised to agree with all my whims, and now you're backing out? I really can't dance. Honestly, the boy admitted. Trust me, it's not that hard. We'll ask someone to teach us the simplest moves. Come on, Antonio, please. The girl began to shower him with kisses on his face. I really want to dance with you in the hall to music. Imagine, our children will be proud of their father because he achieved the impossible and learned to dance. Oh, I feel like you'll be spinning me around, Antonio smirked. All right, lead me to your choreographer, but don't get offended if I step on your toes. I warned you. I knew you wouldn't refuse me. The next morning at breakfast, Antonio asked, Have you already thought about who we'll invite to the wedding? Yes, I have my list ready. How do you manage to do everything? Muttered the young man, examining the names on the sheet of paper. And why aren't your friends' names here? And that guy, what's his name, Bruno? I don't want to see them at our wedding. Beatrice frowned. Dad believes toxic friends should be eliminated, and I agree with him. I don't fit in with snobbish friends. I stopped seeing them right after our joint trip to the mountains. Did you argue with them because of me? If people allow themselves to humiliate my chosen one, laugh at him, then they are not my friends. I got tired of their constant reproaches, silly jokes about you. Hence that I bet on the wrong horse. We have different values. And we have different circles. On the night before the wedding, Beatrice couldn't sleep for a long time. She tossed and turned in bed, imagining how tomorrow she would put on a white dress and dance with Antonio. No, she threw off the blanket, got up, I can't wait any longer. I'll go to the kitchen, get some water. She tiptoed downstairs. Light spilled from the slightly open doors of her father's study. The girl cautiously peeked inside. The door creaked. Daniel Gomez looked back. Daughter, why aren't you sleeping? Tomorrow is such a responsible day for you. I came to get some water. What are you doing here? She approached her father, who was sitting on the couch, peered over his shoulder. Just looking. He held photographs in his hands. I look at you and remember. He gestured for her to sit next to him. It's hard to believe you were so small once. This is you going to the sea with us for the first time. So funny. And this is you and me fishing. Remember? You caught such a huge fish and then got scared of it. And this is your first day of school. With bows. Your head was bigger than your body, he chuckled softly. And this is your high school graduation. Our pride and joy, straight A student. He looked affectionately at his daughter, hugged her, pulled her close. When did you manage to grow up without me noticing? Tomorrow, I will walk my only daughter down the aisle. I can't imagine it. It had to happen someday. Beatrice smiled back at him and closed her eyes. Warmed in her father's embrace, she quieted down, lulled by his voice. One thing comforts me, I am handing you over to a wonderful guy. Daniel Gomez stroked his daughter's head. I was very afraid that you would fall for the persuasion of some irresponsible guy. But you, my daughter, know how to judge people. My soul is at ease for you. You two will make an excellent couple. And your mother and I will always be there, supporting, helping. Besides, I can trust Antonio, and I'm not afraid to entrust you to him. At that moment, the girl was dreaming a beautiful dream in which she and Antonio were already husband and wife, living in harmony, with complete trust and love for each other.
If you're enjoying it as well, leave a like and subscribe.